The reasons why I feel compelled to write love songs are legion. Some of these came clearer to me when I sat down with a friend of mine who, for the sake of his anonymity, I will refer to as G. G and I admitted to each other that we both suffered from the psychological disorder that the medical profession terms erotographomania. Erotographomania is the obsessive desire to write love letters. G shared with me the fact that he had written and sent, over the last 5 years, more than 7,000 love letters to his wife. My friend looked exhausted and his shame was almost palpable. We discussed the power of the love letter and found that it was, not surprisingly, very similar to the love song. Both served as extended meditations on one's beloved. Both served to shorten the distance between the writer and the reciprocant. Both held within them a permanence and power that the spoken word did not. Both were erotic exercises in themselves. Both had the potential to reinvent through words, like Pygmalion with his self-created lover of stone, one's beloved. But more than that, both had the insidious power to imprison one's beloved, to bind their hands with love lines, gag them, blind them. For words become the defining parameter that keeps the image of the loved one imprisoned in a bondage of poetry. I have taken possession of you, the love letter, the love song whispers, forever. These stolen souls we set adrift like lost astronauts floating for eternity through the stratospheres of the divine. Me, I never trust a woman who writes letters, because I know that I myself cannot be trusted. Words endure, flesh does not. The poet will always have the upper hand. Me, I'm a soul catcher for God. Here I come with my butterfly net of words. Here I catch the chrysalis. Here I blow life into their bodies and hurl them fluttering to the stars and the care of God. I'd like to look finally at a song I wrote for the Boatman's Call album. It is called Far From Me, and I have a few things to tell you about it. Far From Me took 4 months to write, which was the duration of the relationship it describes. The first verse was written in the first week of the affair and is full of all the heroic drama of new love as it describes the totality of feeling whilst acknowledging its parallel pain. For you I'm dying now. It sets the two lover heroes against an uncaring world, a world that fucks everybody over, and brings in the notion of the physical distance suggested in the title. Verse 1, and all is well in the garden. But the thing is, Far From Me had its own agenda, and was not about to allow itself to be told what to do. The song, as if awaiting the inevitable traumatic experience, simply refused to let itself be completed until the catastrophe had occurred. Some songs are tricky like that, and it is wise to keep your wits about you when you're dealing with them. I find more often than not that the songs I write seem to know more about what's going on in my life than I do. I have pages and pages of final verses for this song, written while the relationship was still sailing happily along. One such verse went, "The camellia, the magnolia, have such a pretty flower, and the bell from St. Mary's informs us of the hour." Pretty words, innocent words, unaware that any day the bottom was about to drop out of the whole thing. As I wrote the final verse of Far From Me, it became clear that my life was being dictated by the largely destructive ordinance of the song itself, that it had its own inbuilt destiny over which I had no control. In fact, I was an afterthought, a bit-part player in its sly, mischievous, and finally malicious vision of how the world should be. Love songs that attach themselves to actual experience, that are a poeticizing of real events, have a spooky beauty unto themselves. They stay alive in the same way that memories do, and being alive they grow up and undergo changes and develop. If a song is too weak to do that, if it is lacking in sufficient stamina and will to endure, sadly it will not survive. You'll come home one day and find it dead in the bottom of its cage. Its soul will have been reclaimed, and all that will remain is a pile of useless words. A love song such as Far From Me demanded a personality beyond the one I originally gave it, with the power to influence my own feelings and thoughts around the actual event itself. The songs that I have written that deal with past relationships have become the relationships themselves, heroically mutating with time and mythologizing the ordinary events of my life, lifting them from the temporal plane and blasting them way into the stars. As the relationship itself collapses, whimpering with exhaustion, the song breaks free of it and beats its wings heavenward. Such is the singular beauty of songwriting. 20 years of songwriting have now passed, and still the void gapes wide. Still the inexplicable sadness, the duende, the saudade, the divine discontent persists, and perhaps it will continue until I see the face of God himself. But when Moses desired to see the face of God, he was answered that he may not endure it, that no man can see the face of God and live. While me, I don't mind. I'm happy to be sad. For the residue cast off in this search, the songs themselves, my crooked brood of sad-eyed children rally around in their way, protect me, comfort me, and keep me alive. They are the companions of the soul that lead it into exile, that sate the overpowering yearning for that which is not of this world. The imagination demands an alternate world, and through the writing of the love song, one sits and dines with loss and longing, madness and melancholy, ecstasy, magic and joy, with equal measure of respect and gratitude.